I'm Michael Young from Olive's Cafe and Wine Bar in lovely downtown Edmonds.
What have you cooked today?
Today we've prepared a variation on the classic bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich. A little brioche bread topped off with baconaise, so we made a little aioli with the bacon fat. Heirloom tomatoes, obviously, a little romaine in there, a little avocado puree, and then a guanciale chip. And we make the bacon and the guanciale ourselves.
What's guanciale?
Guanciale is cured pig jowl. It's actually the traditional base for carbonara sauce. And this time of year it's great, just chopped up, rendered with whatever you have that's fresh from the market, especially hardy greens. Throw in some tomatoes, just fantastic, quick and easy. Pasta if you want to carve it up. So that's the guanciale on the top. And then our bacon, which is a little unusual too, it's miso glazed bacon. So we rub the bellies with a little miso paste and then cure it for about a week, and then we smoke it for 4 to 6 hours.
Wow.
So, if anything, the miso makes it richer. So, yeah, because bacon's so bland and boring on its own. So.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, we had to bring some flavor somehow.
No, nothing goes better with bacon. You know,
so we've got, well, that's why we decided, let's go, bacon, lettuce, tomato. We just did bacon 3 ways on essentially on the plate. So. Would you ladies care for it's a bacon, lettuce, and tomato sandwich.
Yeah, can you try one of those? You can just put it on here.
You sure? Brioche?
Okay, thank you.
With heirloom tomatoes, a little romaine lettuce, some guanciale and avocado. Thank you. Enjoy it.
Mix.
I like them all. I'm kind of a fool for the green zebra, which I don't seem to see up here as much as some of the others, but really, there are none that I don't like. I like them all. I like the fact that they have the different tones, so visually they look beautiful on a plate, but ultimately it comes down to flavor, and when you can get sweet, sour, and just all the different flavors from the different varietals together, I just like them. Yeah, it's like, which one of your children do you love most?
Yeah, right.
Our restaurant is a fairly small restaurant. We started off 8 years ago as a deli, but my background is in fine dining. We morphed a couple years later into a small restaurant, 28 seats. Last year we expanded up to about 60, and it's right where I like it. Everything's seasonal, everything's, flog that animal, it's all sustainable, it's all local as much as we can, and we basically cook at our whim. We're the first small plate restaurant in Snohomish County. And then when we did the expansion, we discovered there were a lot of people who liked it, although we spent 2 years educating people what the concept was, because they would come in and see the menu and say, oh wow, I can get a beef dish for $11, and then where's the rest of it? Because they were thinking it was going to be, like TGI McShenanigans with Jack Daniel's sauce and Captain Crunch coated. It's not quite that sour. We call them either or. You can get them in 2 sizes. So the people that want to have an entree size can go ahead and do that. The people that really want to just share and explore the menu can do that with the smaller versions. I'm not sure if I described too. We made it. The barrier on there, the mayonnaise, is actually a baconaise. We rendered bacon and guanciale with a little extra canola oil, and then we made the mayonnaise out of that. So it's got bacon, more bacon, guanciale.
Layers of bacon.
But the tomato's the star. But we didn't do much to this because we want to let them show what they are. We just added all the other flavors to support the show.
You got a star here. This is good.
That sax player is supposed to be like the best in the world. I know they're a trio and they brought this guy in.
If you're near them, go see them. They're good.
Man,
a little more than this, but we have
Okay, off screen. That is great. I don't know why you love it.
I love tomatoes, so it's fun for me because the tomatoes taste so good on their own that we don't really, even like in this presentation, we try not to do too much to the tomato itself. We just try to bring more flavors there to kind of show everything off. Why take something so fantastic and adulterate it up? And we had plenty of plans. We were going to do all sorts of crazy fancy stuff, and let's just back up and do nice, clean, simple flavors, let the tomatoes shine. It's not about what we do, it's about what the food tastes like.
Simple is better. In a lot of ways. Hey, that is awesome. I love your sauce, and the flavors are just beautifully in there.
Thank you very much.
That is awesome. You did tomatoes.
I'm surprised you didn't lick the plate.
Well, I haven't gotten rid of it yet.
My neighbor's yard is not very attractive.
That's what.
Did you just drive over for the
We
day?
just drove over. We were actually in Missoula yesterday.
Good gravy, guy.
Yeah. So might as well, you know, why not?
Burning
But,
a candle at both
But yeah,
ends.
it's kind of an interesting year, grape growing wise. You know, we're about 2 weeks behind. The weather's been, it's the third coolest year on record in the greater Wenatchee area. So it'll be interesting to see. But you never know where it all goes, and every year has its own. The way I figure it is, every year is a vintage year for certain varieties. In other words, whether it's Chardonnay or Pinot or Merlot or whatever it is, every year is going to be a really good year for one of them, since we grow so many different varieties here.
Are there any varieties that are taking advantage of the weather this year?
Well, it just seems like the cooler climate varieties are probably going to do better this year, because usually our cool climate varieties tend to lose their acid, and acid is kind of the structure of the wine, and so they'll do a little bit better, and we'll perhaps have too much acid in the later ripening varieties this year. But it's funny, every year I always read somebody says this is the vintage of the decade. And I'm really waiting for some winemaker to say, you know, this is really the worst decade I've ever seen. I mean, this is the worst year I've ever seen, and I really wouldn't buy anything from this year. It's sort of like when you go to the restaurant and you ask the wait person what they think of the particular entree you picked, they always go, it's wonderful. I'm waiting for one wait person to say, no, you know, I really wouldn't get that.
How was that waiter? You probably won't try some.
There are two advantages to growing grapes in central Washington, and that is a comment. Eastern Washington is not central Washington. When you're pouring wine in Spokane and they say, where's the winery? You cannot say Eastern Washington. So we are literally in central Washington, and just that it's so dry that we tend not to have disease issues, and in addition we have to water, which means we can control the way our grapes respond to the year. In other words, we water more, we water less, as the case may be, to really try and stress the grapes. The theory for the moment is that stressed grapes are better wine grapes. That's the theory.
Actually, in gardening, I share that accolade, yeah.
Well, one would think, you know, you get a great big huge tomato, it rarely has as much flavor. Of course, we're talking heirlooms here, a different ball game, but it's not going to have as much flavor as perhaps, you know, a cherry tomato tends to be more concentrated in flavors.
Yes, definitely more concentrated in the sugars, yeah.
Yeah, so who knows? I mean,
Yeah, and the acids too.
years ago I was talking to another farmer in the Quincy Basin, and I said, really weird spring this year. He said, yep, that's the only normal thing about it.
Well, for not having a lot to say, you've just done great.
You just have to fire me up. Once you get me fired up, I can go for hours, actually. But